The dark secret of the Bible. What happened to the wives of giants? Shocking revelations inside. As the flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the ancient stone walls, the whispers of a dark and deadly tale echoed through the dimly lit room. Who knew that buried deep within the pages of the Bible lay startling secrets, an untold saga of the wives of giants, their fates forever intertwined with fearsome legends? This wasn't just a bedtime story. No, this was a scandalous revelation that would shake the foundations of faith itself. Pictures of enormous beings looming over their unsuspecting partners were impossible to ignore. The sheer size of these giants, mighty men of valor known as the Nephilim, dwarfed the world around them, turning love into raw dread. Imagine a towering figure, his deep-set eyes clouded with sorrow and rage, wrestling with the confines of love and betrayal. Was there joy in their hearts, or was it merely a facade masking anguished cries? What of the women who dared to love these giants? A thought ran cold down one's spine. What happened to them? What kind of life did they endure? As the story unfolds, chilling rumors swirl around the fate of these women, tales of them taken as spoils of war, their very existence vanishing under the weight of myth and mistrust. On cold nights, did they gather for solace, sharing secrets in hushed tones, exchanging stares full of despair, questions lingering like a fog? Did they suffer abuse? Were they cursed to dwell in eternal shadows? And just as the lights dimmed again, a sudden, shivering silence enveloped the crowd. Gasps whispered in the air. What was that? A legend, already chilling, was taking shape before our very eyes. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension pulsed through the room as hearts raced. Eyes darted, bodies tensed. A faint scream echoed, breaking the suffocating silence. It felt like a direct hit to the gut. A figure stood from the shadows, cloaked in mystery. Those watching couldn't look away. Was it one of the wives, returned from the abyss of history to reveal their harrowing truths? Or was it something more sinister, a warning from the giants themselves? Secrets were sizzling, the air thick and electric with curiosity. What more lay ahead? Who else would be drawn into this dark web of revelations? Was anyone truly ready for the shocking truth? The figure stepped into the flickering light, revealing a face both familiar and foreign, haunting, yet beautiful. Long dark hair cascaded down her back, and her eyes blazed with an intensity that seemed to pierce right through the gathered crowd. Gasps turned into murmurs, rippling through the audience like a wild wind. Who was she? Was she the lost wife of a giant, returned from hidden realms, or something darker, some twisted echo of a forgotten myth? She raised a hand, silencing the chatter. You seek the truth, do you not? Her voice was soft but held an unyielding firmness, like a blade sharpening on a stone. The listeners leaned in, hearts pounding, drawn in by her words, ready for revelations that could shatter their understanding. But with what cost? The unspeakable fate of those women loomed like an ominous cloud overhead. I am Azael, once bound to a giant from the mountains of Ararat, she declared, the name heavy with loss. I was one of many women who were taken sisters, daughters, nursed in the shadows of titanic horrors. The crowd exchanged glances filled with disbelief. Azael's story beckoned to them like a siren's song, grounding them in the brutality of their reality. Whispers began to rise again, drowning Azael's voice in a cacophony of speculation and awe. Bursts of shock punctuated the murmurs. Some had heard the old tales, legendary warnings passed down through generations. The Nephilim had not simply existed. Their legacies flourished through the women they claimed. But what of those women? Eyes teared up as Azael pressed on, recounting her story. We were not mere trophies to be grasped. We bore witness to the agony of love intertwined with terror. My giant was both protector and predator. He consumed everything, including me. The pain in her voice wrapped around the room like a vice. But we were resilient even in our chains. A collective shudder ran through the crowd as a chilling realization sank in. These tales were meant to be more than just myths. They were warnings, reminders of pain and suffering that transcended time. What did it mean to love a titan? To share joy one moment only to be engulfed in darkness the next? Azazel seemed to sense their fear, and a glimmer of rage sparked in her eyes. Listen carefully, she demanded, her fierce gaze sweeping over the uncertain faces. What you despise you must also understand. It is the endless cycle. The giants were born from the union of heaven and earth, and so were we. Her words crashed against the crowd, resonating with deep echoes of truth. But the worst crimes come not from the giants, but from those who turned a blind eye to the love that entwined us. Dread enveloped the room as they pondered her warning. How easy it was to villainize the giants. Yet the real horror lay in the unseen forces around them: betrayal, manipulation, neglect. What blood-stained shadows followed these women into the darkness? Azazel inhaled sharply, her expression morphing into determination. If you wish to know what truly happened to us, you must seek the lost relics, pieces that hold our powerful stories. They will reveal hidden secrets that can shake the world. But be warned, her voice dropped to a whisper, every heart now hanging on her next words. Those who seek the truth may unwittingly awaken the giants once more. Just then, thunder roared outside, shaking the very foundations of the room. Fear swept through the souls gathered, raising every hair on the back of their necks. Had someone answered the call? What monstrous battle was about to unfold? The chilling question lingered in the air. Were they prepared to face the giant's wrath? Or were they only awakening the ghosts of an age that should have remained hidden? Azazel's words hung in the air, the weight of them pressing down like a shroud. Just then, a flash of light illuminated the outside world, revealing dark clouds swirling ominously overhead. Another crack of thunder shook the walls, the sound reverberating through every inch of the room, causing even the most steadfast among the crowd to flinch. What do we do? Someone shouted from the back, a voice laced with panic. No more silence. Azazel's voice cut through the fear. What lies within those relics holds power. A power that can both heal and destroy. You must be willing to face the truth. The giants are not the only monsters we must confront. Whispers erupted again, but this time they were frantic and wild. Faces turned pale, and the realization of their impending doom settled over them like a thick fog. Men, women, and children all considered the looming specter of awakening ancient titans. Could they truly bear the weight of such knowledge? Just then, a shadow flickered at the edge of the crowd. Many turned, squinting into the darkness, a figure becoming visible through the flickering light. It was an old man, stooped and frail, with a white beard that hung like wisps of cloud. His presence seemed to crackle with urgency. "I know where the relics are," he bellowed, his eyes wild but bright with the spark of hope. Or was it madness? Every head turned toward him, breaths held as he steadied himself against a wall, leaning heavily on its surface. "You're not ready for what is hidden," he continued, voice trembling. "It's guarded by the spirits of those who were lost. Even the bravest among you may not return." Azazel stepped forward, her face a landscape of fury and hurt. "And what do you know of bravery, old man? Do you dare speak of what it means to suffer? Do you know the price of love in torment?" "Enough," he interrupted, raising a shaking hand. "You want their stories? You'll pay dearly. But I can guide you. You must dare the tomb of the forgotten, where the whispers of the lost reach out like grasping hands." "But no." His voice dropped to a conspiratorial hiss. "The giants take their due, and once you pursue the relics, there is no turning back." Gasps spread through the audience once more. They exchanged glances, uncertain. Azazel's gaze remained hardened, her expression a perfect blend of determination and fear. "We have no choice. Knowledge comes at a price, and it's time we reclaim our narrative. Time we break these chains of silence." A sudden gust of wind swept through the opening where the figure stood, knocking over a lantern. Its light flickered wildly before plunging the room into a deep darkness. Shouts ensued as the crowd tried to regain their composure amidst the chaos. As they scrambled to relight the lantern, panic surged. Was it the power of the giants reacting? Or had the forgotten vengeful spirits awoken, ready to reclaim their strength? In that gripping moment of uncertainty, Azal's voice rose above the clamor. Who among you will dare to journey with me, to find the relics that can reveal the true nature of our world? The room fell silent, eyes drawn to Azal, filled with expectation and dread. But just as the first brave soul stepped forward, the thunder erupted again, this time louder, deeper, more menacing, a portent of doom. Suddenly, the earth trembled beneath them. Cracks splintered the floor, sending shards into the air, and the tension swelled until it erupted in a deafening roar. What danger lurked below? Awakening from centuries of slumber. Would they be ready to face the consequences of their quest as the very ground they stood on began to betray them? The path to truth was just beginning, but at what cost? The vibrations intensified, the floor cracking further as the shadows at the edges of the room danced with wild energy, a silent agreement forming amongst the crowd. Azal's voice pierced through the rumble, each word a lifeline thrown into chaos. We cannot falter now. Our fate hangs in the balance. A wave of heat rushed through the space, and it felt as if the very air was charged, thick with anticipation. A mother clutched her child tightly, her eyes darting around, fear clouding her features. Please, we can't do this, she pleaded. We must leave before it's too late. But Azal remained resolute. The truths we seek cannot be found in safety. This is our moment to confront the shadows that have haunted our past, she declared, her voice unwavering. The tremors quieted momentarily, as though the earth itself held its breath. The old man took a step closer, urgency etched into every line on his face. Listening to the echoes of the tomb will unearth more than you bargained for. Know this, history has a way of twisting the hearts of the foolish. Will you still follow? Before anyone could respond, another explosion of thunder reverberated from above, sending shards of stone raining down. A heavy gasp echoed through the crowd. Panic surged anew as the old man raised his hands, palms out. To the relics we go. Follow my voice and steady your hearts. With a collective nod, each individual felt their fear starting to morph into a fierce determination. They slowly gathered around Azal, united by fate, their homesick hopes stitched together through dread. And then, emboldened by her fiery spirit, they moved as one towards the doorway, but another boom of thunder roared. The ground cracked once more, harder, deeper, and from the fissures, dark smoke began to seep. It's them, the spirits, someone muttered, a tremor in their voice. They're here. Azal stepped forward, a beacon of defiance. Spirits or giants, we cannot allow fear to bind us. But as she spoke, another figure emerged from the shadows, a large silhouette with glinting eyes that seemed to absorb the flickering light. The crowd gasped as the form stepped fully into view, a colossal figure of a giant, wreathed in shadow, its presence woven from the fears that held the room captive. Its voice was a low rumble, echoing with power. You tread paths meant for the brave or the foolish. Which are you? The room fell into an eerie silence, hearts pounding as the giant's eyes surveyed them. Fear mingled with aggression, a tempest of emotions. Azal held her ground, fists clenched, every fiber of her being screaming for action. We are seeking the truth, she shouted back, her voice trembling but defiant. We will uncover the relics. The air thickened with tension, and the giantess' laughter boomed like thunder. Truth is a heavy load, child. Are you prepared to carry its weight? Before she could answer, the old man's voice called out, you must act quickly. The longer you linger, the more you risk awakening darker truths. The ground trembled again, and the giant's shadow expanded, enveloping the room in darkness. Azal grabbed the old man's arm, urgency fueling her resolve. We can't wait any longer. Lead the way. The crowd surged behind her, each terrified yet determined to pursue the ancient echoes of their past. They raced down a narrow hallway, the walls trembling as they fled the clutches of the unknown. Just as they reached a large, cavernous door, its surface gleamed with inscriptions of forgotten lore. A chill passed through them as they hesitated, staring down into the abyss that awaited. What lies beyond? A voice broke through the uncertainty, soft yet fearsome. Azazel turned to the crowd, knowing that the question was perhaps the most terrifying of all. Then, with a deep breath, she pushed the door open, a rush of cold air licking at their faces as they stepped into the unknown. As darkness swallowed them whole, the echoes of ancient whispers filled the air. The time for answers had come, but what terrifying revelations awaited them in the tomb of the forgotten? Would the giant be their guardian or their executioner? The heavy door creaked as it opened, revealing a vast, dimly lit chamber beyond. Shadows swelled and thrashed against the walls, casting monstrous shapes that shifted like the fears ingrained in the hearts of those who dared enter. Azazel felt the chill run down her spine. It was as if the very air pulsated with a sentient pulse, watching, waiting. "Stay close," she urged, her voice barely more than a whisper as they crossed the threshold. Each step echoed ominously, the sound swallowed by the darkness that loomed around them. The old man regained his footing, his breath shaky. "This is where they dwelled," he said, his voice steeped in reverence. "Legends claim that those who entered to seek the truth found more misery than enlightenment." Nervous glances ricocheted between the group, their unity faltering under the weight of ancient whispers that beckoned from the dark. "What kind of truth?" a young man queried, the tremor in his voice betraying his hard-won courage. "Will we find our answers or just more questions?" Before Azazel could respond, the ground beneath them began to tremble anew. The sound of grinding stone filled the air, louder than thunder. Wisps of fog crept along the floor, swirling around their feet, caressing like icy fingers. "Move, move," Azazel shouted, urgency spiking in her chest. She felt an invisible dread gripping her, as if the shadows themselves conspired against them. She turned, setting her eyes on what lay ahead. Flickering torches on the walls revealed towering stone statues, giant figures, frozen in time, resembling warriors of old. Each wore expressions of agony and fury. "What are they?" someone gasped, pointing. Faces pale, fear washing over them like a wave. "Watch your thoughts, my friends," the old man cautioned. "It is said these are the guardians of secrets best left unspoken. They reflect the souls of those who enter, each inscribed with their own sins." There it was again, a crack in the silence, a promise of something horrific waiting in the dark. Azazel's heart raced. "We move onward," she said firmly, feeling a surge of desperation propel them forward. The chamber widened, revealing a great stone altar at its center. The grim sight of twisted iron and bone decorated the top. Vividly colored carvings surged along the walls, depicting stories of giants battling strange beasts, each tale a haunting echo of pain and bloodshed. As the group stepped closer, a deep rumble emanated from the altar, a ghostly whisper cutting through the air. "Awake the fallen, get away," Azazel cried, pulling back, her instincts screaming. Yet, as she turned, she saw the first of the figures rise, the shadows from the walls converging into a tall, menacing figure cloaked in darkness. An overwhelming darkness that felt suffocating. "Why have you disturbed my slumber?" The voice slithered through the chamber like fog settling over graveyards. "Who are you?" Azazel demanded, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her. "What do you want from us?" "Answers," the figure replied, extending its arms, "and retribution." The crowd recoiled as more forms emerged, twisted shadows clinging to the edges. Azazel's eyes widened in recognition. These aren't just spirits, they're bound by pain, tied to the relics, to the truth. "Yes," the figure's voice hissed, a chilling echo that rattled bones. "And what you seek is buried deep, hidden from the foolish. Are you prepared to unearth it?" Terror twisted through Azazel's gut. The faces of the crowd reflected her own dread, a mirror of their impending fate. "We need to leave," a voice shouted, but Azazel knew they were too far gone. Their only choice was just ahead, a path leading deeper into the abyss of knowledge. And as the shadows began to close in with mouths agape, she felt the weight of her decision pressing down heavily. No turning back now, she whispered, steeling herself as they pressed into the darkness. Deeper into the secrets long buried, one haunting thought remained. If they uncovered the truth, would it set them free or doom them all? And just as they reached the heart of the darkness, the walls trembled. With a foreboding heartbeat, echoing a chilling question. Would their search for power reveal the wives of giants, long lost and shrouded in dark history? As they plunged deeper into the heart of the looming darkness, an uncanny silence enveloped the group. Azazel could hear only the pounding of her heart, a frantic drum echoing the consistent, mocking beat of the chamber walls. Each breath felt like an act of rebellion against the oppressive air that threatened to suffocate them. The shadows undulated around her, shapes writhing, whispering secrets from the corners of her mind. She glanced at her companions. Their eyes flickered with uncertainty, yet none dared to falter. The deeper they ventured, the more the atmosphere thickened, a suffocating blanket that ignited her instincts. Stay alert, she cautioned, forcing herself to breathe deeply. We don't know what else lies ahead, or what they want from us, murmured the young man from earlier, his face drawn tight with fear. An uneasy chorus of nods rippled through the group, each member wrestling with their own demons. Suddenly, the ground shuddered violently, sending Azazel stumbling forward. A rip in the floor opened, belching smoke and a sound like claws scraping stone. Shadows poured forth from the fissure, swirling around their feet like snakes, and she felt a sharp pinch of terror collide with the pulse of determination coursing through her veins. Back! The old man yelled, reaching out to form a protective barrier, but it was too late. The shadows engulfed him, and for a split second, Azazel could see the terror in his eyes, a fear that mirrored none other. Then he vanished into the blackness. No! Hope morphed into despair, surging through her. We can't lose him. We have to. But before she could finish, a deafening roar erupted from the depths. The chamber vibrated as if echoing the very voices of the fallen. The stone altar reacted, trembling violently beneath them, and Azazel felt an ancient evil awakening. Stretching like sleepy limbs in the darkness, an ominous glow flickered to life, illuminating a grotesque mural on the far wall. It depicted giants, colossal figures entwined with indistinct shapes, naked in their primal fury as they conquered, as they bled, as they loved. Azazel's breath hitched. Was that what the shadows sought? Not just revenge, but a revelation of the forgotten? Do you see? The tall figure looming in the corner spoke, its words curling like smoke into the air. These are not mere tales of conquest. They are the remnants of a lost history, the wives of giants. Taken, forgotten, cast into the abyss of shame. What do you mean? Azazel asked, dread coiling around her heart. What happened to them? Claimed? The figure hissed, as if savoring each syllable. Cast aside to maintain power. Lost to time, discarded as if they were nothing. Now they summon their vengeance through you. Illuminated by that eerie glow, the shadows pulsed with life. Faces materialized, each grotesque and beautiful, flickering between sorrow and rage. Azazel's mind raced as if chasing ghosts. The question burned into her soul. If they uncovered the truth, whose wrath would they unleash? Would they become heroes uncovering the lost, or mere puppets to forces far beyond their grasp? Turn back, the figure urged, its voice low, nearly pleading. This knowledge will consume you. Will it truly set you free, or will you inherit their curse? In that moment, Azazel felt the weight of destiny pressing down. She looked at the faces around her, each reflecting the same mix of fear and resolve as they straddled the chasm between truth and destruction. We can't abandon this, she finally declared, steeling her resolve as the shadows shifted and shrieked, eager for their decision. The question hung heavily in the air like an executioner's noose. Would embracing the shadows unleash untold power or awaken horrors beyond imagination? Her heart quickened in response, a frantic dance in the face of encroaching darkness. One truth remained embedded in her thoughts, gnawing at her sanity. What if the knowledge they sought had already cost them more than they could afford? And as they pressed forward, darkness swirling closer. Azazel knew their search was far from over. But with every step they took, every heartbeat reverberating through the ancient chamber, another question emerged, a haunting echo in the abyss. What kind of truth could possibly justify a price like this? The shadows danced around them, a swirling mass of anticipation and dread. Azazel felt them pressing closer, thin tendrils brushing against her skin, as if to test her resolve. "Did you hear that?" whispered the young man, his voice quivering. Azazel nodded, straining to catch a sound beyond the cacophony of her own racing heart. It was a low, almost melodic hum, weaving through the air. The sound resonated within her, filling the chamber with a sense of foreboding. "Let us keep moving," said the old woman, her voice steely despite the fear etched on her face. "We can't waste time." They pressed onward, the glow from the mural casting eerie shadows that fled and returned in a disorienting dance. Each step echoed louder than the last, a funeral march through a tomb of lost souls. Azazel caught sight of the faces in the mural again, twisted smiles and eyes filled with sorrow and fury, pleading for release. "What if they're not just stories?" she murmured almost to herself, haunted by the thought. "What if we're meant to find them?" "Find who?" The old woman shot back, her gaze hardening. "Those lost wives? We shouldn't be here. Growing old and bitter can teach you that. Or maybe the bitterness drives them to haunt this place," Azazel replied, feeling a mix of anger and desperation sway within her. The allure of the truth tugged at her once more. How could she turn back when they were so close? She could almost feel the presence of the forgotten women, urging her forward. Suddenly, the air turned cold. A gasp echoed through the chamber, and Azazel spun around. The shadows shifted violently, coiling then releasing, forming a spectral hand that reached for her companions. Before she could scream, the old man's voice cut through the chaos. "Don't resist. They want to show us." Azazel's heart pounded. Show us what? But the answer was drowning in an overwhelming wave of darkness. "Don't you understand?" The tall figure, still lurking in the corner, began to weave a tapestry of narrative, its voice rising above the tumult. "This is more than just loss, this is a chance for redemption. But are you willing to pay the price?" The air thickened with a palpable energy, and suddenly, the shadows transformed. Faces emerged, their expressions contorted in a dance of grief and vengeance. These weren't just forgotten wives. They were powerful beings, once revered, now trapped in limbo, their stories lost to the ages. "Stand with us," they cried, their voices blending into a chilling harmony. "Join us and we shall rise again. Help us reclaim what was taken. Unleash our power." "Do we dare?" asked the young man, his voice barely above a whisper. Fear flickered in his eyes, but something deeper, a hunger for knowledge, a thirst for understanding shone as well. Azazel felt the weight of their gaze, their desperation mirrored in her own heart. The urgency to act surged within her. Could they release this power? Or would they be consumed, bodies and souls? Is this truth or trickery? Azazel pondered, fighting against the seductive call of the women's cries. If we free them, what might they do? The risk weighed heavily on her, but so did the chance to change everything. Together, the group shouted, arms clasped around each other, tension weaving through their hands. They transferred their fears into strength, creating an unbreakable chain. But as they united, the shadows roared an ominous tumult that shook the very foundation of the chamber. The haunting melody swelled, transforming into a chorus of wails. "If you embrace the truth, you embrace the legacy of darkness." The tall figure warned, desperation clawing at its voice. "Are you ready for what you may unleash?" The question echoed, a drumbeat of fate. As the shadows threatened to swallow them whole once more, Azazel felt the full weight of the decision they were about to make. And in that moment, she knew. The truth lay within reach, but so did their doom. With the air crackling around them, a new resolve sparked. They would not fall into despair without fighting back. "Then let us find out." Azazel screamed over the chaos, a fierce light, igniting in her spirit. What darkness awaited them? As the shadows swirled and roared, The chasm of destiny unfurled beneath their feet, gripping, twisting, and pulling them into the abyss. Would they become conduits of forgotten power, or would they wake something ancient and malignant? With a single heartbeat threading through the chaos, they stepped forward. At that diluted moment, prayer mingled with courage, whispering one undeniable truth. The real journey had only just begun. The ground trembled beneath their feet, reverberating like a warning bell. As they took that fateful step, Azazel felt it course through her body, a surge of energy, a ripple of something long dormant stirring awake. The shadows writhed in response, their grip tightening like a vice, pulling them deeper into an unseen world. "What is happening?" The young man gasped, panic in his voice. "I don't know," Azazel shouted, her determination fighting against the encroaching fear. Every instinct screamed to turn back, to run from the dark embrace. But a fierce voice within her pushed her forward. They had come too far to stop now. The whispers escalated, swirling around them, each voice rising with the intensity of a storm. "Release us," they cried. "We were wronged. Help us find our truth." Azazel's heart raced as the weight of their pleas settled in her chest like a thick fog. "What truth?" she called back, desperate for answers to quell the chaos. But the wails only grew louder, drowning out her thoughts. The old woman stood firm, her back straight yet her face shadowed with uncertainty. "If we're going to do this, we need to remember who we are. We must not lose our way. Do we even know who we are?" Azazel's voice rose in defiance. "Look at us. We're standing here, drawn in by their pain. But what if we unleash more than we bargained for?" Before anyone could respond, the shadows released a thunderous roar, a sound that echoed through the chamber and into the depths of their souls. Azazel's heart raced as a blinding light erupted from the center of the darkness, illuminating the trapped women. Ava's ion blurred by light enveloped them, revealing ethereal figures whose faces twisted between beauty and fury. Some wept silently, while others screamed in torment. Their eyes locked onto Azazel, pleading for acknowledgement, for action. "Remember our stories," one of them cried, her voice piercing through the haze. "We were once revered, loved only to be discarded and forgotten." Azazel stumbled back, the weight of their collective sorrow heavy upon her heart. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What happened to you?" The air thickened with tension, and an unsettling truth began to emerge. "They took our voices," another shadowed form replied, pain etched in her ghostly features. "We were wives of giants, bound to a world where power ruled unchecked. Our stories twisted into nightmares, silencing our cries." The realization struck Azazel like a blow. Their power was rooted in tragedy. "If we help you, what then?" she asked, anxiety threading her voice. "Only then can we reclaim our voices," the spectral form said, and for a moment, the shadows quieted. "But be warned, our liberation comes at a cost. Blood must spill. There are those who would stop us." "Blood?" the young man echoed, horror igniting in his eyes. "What are we supposed to do? Fight? We cannot back down now," Azazel shouted, feeling the surge of determination morphing into raw fire within her. Their fight had transformed into something more significant, a rebellion against the silence that had stolen lives and legends. Suddenly, shadows blazed with terrifying intensity, and dark figures emerged from the periphery. "You think you can change fate?" One shadow hissed, its voice like ice. "You're playing with powers far beyond your understanding." Azazel trembled as the shadows coiled around her, tightening like a serpent-esque grip. Fear clawed at her, but so did exhilaration. She felt alive, on the edge of an extraordinary revelation. She glanced at her companions, feeling the unity they shared, each heartbeat echoing in rhythm. "Then let us forge our own fate, together," she cried, raising her arms to face the darkness. With that declaration, the chamber erupted into chaos, light clashing against shadow. They were no longer just witnesses. They were participants in an ancient battle, a battle that could awaken the world or consume it whole. As the shadows lunged, she could feel time slowing. What would happen next? Would they stand as liberators or be swept away by a tide of vengeance? Azael's heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of the truth waiting to be unleashed and the tumult. The questions loomed larger than ever. How far would they go to uncover the dark secrets that bound them? Was this the moment they either triumphed or sealed their fate forever? Azael's heart thundered in her chest as the shadows lunged forward, a living tide of darkness crashing against the flickering light surrounding them. The air snapped with tension, filled with a crackling energy that sent a chill rushing down her spine. "Stay together," she yelled, summoning every ounce of strength as she reached for her companions. The young man's eyes were wide with dread, the old woman's jaw clenched in fierce determination. They needed to fight, but could they even grasp the true nature of this battle? The spectral figures swirled around them, their anguished faces shifting with the pulse of the chamber's heart. "You must embrace your fear," one of them cried, her voice laced with sorrow. "Fear is the key to unlocking the power within." Azael hesitated. Embracing fear felt absurd and terrifying. Yet deep down, a flicker of truth ignited within her. The depth of their suffering mirrored her own turmoil. "Hold on to your fears," she shouted, voice resolute. "Let them guide us." With the haunted cries of the lost women urging her on, Azael felt an unexpected surge of energy. It coursed through her veins, igniting sparks of power within her. The darkness around them recoiled, hissing like steam escaping a kettle, as if sensing the shift in resolve. "Together," the old woman cried, raising her hands. In unison they began to chant. Words rolled off their tongues, a melody intertwined with grief and strength. Each utterance formed a tether, binding them tighter together, a web woven with intention. A blast of light burst from their linked hands, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. The chamber trembled beneath their feet, shaking loose centuries of dust and despair. "Yes," Azael shouted, feeling the swell of courage deep within. But the shadows, refusing to retreat, began to morph, twisting, contorting into monstrous shapes. They lunged once more, anger fueling their ferocity, desperate to quell the source of resistance. "Change the story," shrieked a distorted face, its eyes burning like dying embers. "You think you can rewrite our fate? Release us," cried another, her voice pushing through the chaos. "We refuse to be forgotten any longer." The ground beneath them cracked, fissures of darkness yawning wide open, threatening to swallow the world whole. Azael's determination surged. There were answers hidden within this volatile awakening, a truth that thrummed beneath the surface like a heart waiting to be freed. "Don't fight the pain," she urged her companions, her voice fierce against the tide. "Embrace it, transform it." With a collective breath, they focused on the feelings skull-deep: anguish, rage, sorrow. The shadows recoiled, caught off guard by this unexpected surge of acceptance. Then, in a flash, memories cascaded through Azael, glimpses of lives once powerful, filled with laughter, joy, and plight. She understood now. They were not just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for the centuries of women lost to time, their stories buried beneath the weight of silence. "Together, we reclaim our voices," Azael roared, her voice echoing back from the shadows. "We will take back what is ours." But just as the shadows started to wane, something flickered in the darkness, a flicker of darkness that proved more menacing than any shadow before. It swelled larger, stronger, drawing out whispers of ancient curses that dripped with venomous power. "Fools!" it snarled, its presence thickening like smoke. "You dare trespass in realms that should remain unscathed? You will regret this folly." Azael's pulse raced as dread washed over her. What new horror awaited them? As the chamber pulsed violently, she realized the fight was far from over. The true adversary was finally revealing itself. "What's coming?" she whispered, breath hitching. Just then, the ground split further, a dark vortex forming right beneath them. With a heavy heart, they realized it was too late to retreat. "Stay united," the old woman yelled as the shadows surged and screamed around them as they braced themselves against the encroaching darkness. Azael felt the familiar heat in her chest, the flame of defiance, the call to battle. But with the mystery ahead, The depth of what they would have to confront loomed ever larger. Would they survive what was coming? Or had they unleashed a darkness they were never meant to confront? As the swirling shadows thickened around them, a deep rumble resonated from the depths of the darkness, a taunting laugh that echoed through the chamber like a thunderous gale, chilling Azal's bones. The shadows writhed with a life of their own, twisting and contorting, and with every tremor of the ground, doubts began to creep into the hearts of her companions. "Stay steady," Azal shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon. "We've come too far to let fear unravel us now." But as another wave of darkness surged forth, spilling from the jaws of a twisting fissure, she felt a cold dread settle in her chest. The very air became thick with unspeakable malice. The fight was more than a battle against the shadows. It was against an ancient evil awakened, hungry for dominance. "Release the past," the towering figure howled, eyes burning with rage. "You do not understand the legacy you toy with." With that, the shadows began to shift, conjuring images, swirling memories of the wives, stored anguish and despair drifting like phantoms. Azal's breath caught in her throat. "What do you want from us?" she dared to ask, feeling the oppressive weight of countless eyes focused on her. A laugh reverberated through the chamber, smooth yet filled with an aching void. "Understanding only leads to sorrow, little warrior. You seek power to fight, but it is a double-edged sword." Amid the tortured faces of the lost wives, something sparked within Azal. "Power comes from the truth," she declared, battling against the suffocating hopelessness. "You will not silence our voice. We will remember you." The energy pulsed at her fingertips, emboldening her spirit, and she reached deep within her heart, feeling the courage swell and rise. "We will tell your story," she shouted, galvanizing her companions, their unity igniting fire in the depths of despair. "We will stand not as victims but as champions of the truth." With each declaration, the chamber quaked, shadows crashing against the powerful wave of conviction emanating from the group. They formed an unbreakable chain of strength, emboldened by the legacy they sought to reclaim. At that moment, the dark entity coiled tightly around them, silencing their chants with guttural fury. "You foolish mortals! This is not a battle of strength but will. Flee now, and you will keep your lives." "No!" Azal's voice rang out, fierce and unwavering. "We will no longer flee from what haunts us. We will face it, together." A rush of power surged within, connecting them deeper than fear could sever. The women's voices joined, harmonizing in an ancient song of yearning, a melody that wove through the air, wrapping around them like celestial chains of light. And then, the shadows screamed a cacophony of anguish that shook the chamber and sent tremors through the earth. "You dare mock the darkness? You will pay." But Azal felt no fear. Instead, she felt a warmth spreading from her heart, dispelling the shadows that clung around her. The ache of despair morphed into something strong, something bright. In that moment, truths began to collide, the stories of the forgotten mixing with her own heart, creating an incredible burst of resistance. The altar quaked violently, unleashing a wave of energy, a blinding flash that illuminated the faces of ancient women trapped in anguish. Their eyes glimmered with recognition, gratitude, and a longing for liberation glimmering like stars igniting the night. "Join us," cried one of the freed spirits, reaching out with a quivering hand. "Together we can unshackle the past." With renewed determination, they held tight, a chain of souls forged in pain yet ignited by hope. Azal stepped forward, feeling the strength of the lost wives surge through her. "We will reclaim our voices. We will not let fear consume us." The shadows screamed, thrashing violently as the wails of the ancient wives began to harmonize with their battle cries. The chamber erupted in a symphony of light as the spirits merged with their strength, an unstoppable force that tore through the darkness like a wild tempest. "Forgive us," the echoes of the giants pleaded, their might suddenly faltering against the tide of unity that rose. "What have you unleashed?" As the darkness began to fracture, Azal felt the power swell, an overwhelming wave that rolled through her, an indomitable surge of identity and pain transformed into resilience. "We are no longer lost," she shouted, her voice soaring above the tumult. With a final roar, the shadows broke apart, dissolving into tendrils of light that cast warmth across the room. They were not victors. They were witnesses, gathered as one to honor the forgotten, to embrace their stories that echoed through the ages like fragile whispers demanding justice. In the aftermath, silence fell soft yet powerful, a testament to all that had been reclaimed. The shadows faded, leaving behind calm, swirling remnants of their ancient fury, but also a radiant glow illuminating the stories they had uncovered. Azazel stood amidst her companions in the once-haunted chamber, hearts still pounding, yet filled with an exquisite peace. They had journeyed beyond myths, confronting the darkness that lay within and without, birthing a new understanding born of pain and glory. Azazel, one of her companions, whispered, eyes wide with awe, "Did we really?" "Yes," she replied, tears brimming. "But it's only the beginning." As they emerged back into the world above, the weight of their victory washed over them, a testament that the voices of the forgotten would never again be silenced. And just like that, the tale of the wives of giants etched in darkness, fervently chased, and finally embraced became interwoven with their own. A celebration of legacies once lost, now vital and alive, craving to be shared with the world. Join them on this journey of enlightenment. Don't miss out. Subscribe immediately to our channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will shake your beliefs. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the shocking turn of events you just witnessed. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Your fandom makes a world of difference. Come be a part of our community.